Yes, we will be recording today's webinar so that we can make it available to everybody who wasn't able to attend on time. Okay, let's get started. We will take questions at the end, but feel free to type your questions into the chat box at any time. And also, if as you're watching, ideas occur to you about topics you'd like to hear more about, anytime, feel free to put them in the chat box. First, I just want to share a couple of announcements. Please stay tuned to COSA's website and listserv to find out more about the upcoming SERI webinars. Currently in the works, we have a webinar that's about using story maps to engage your audience. And we have another webinar we're working on about legal holds as they apply to electronic records. On the slide here, we also have a list of some of COSA's online resources. I'm not going to go into depth to them now because we're going to talk more about them in this webinar. I also want to take a moment to recognize Series 2022 sponsor, Preservica. And I'd like to introduce our speakers for today. Joshua Hackle is the electronic records archivist for the Illinois State Archives, where he serves as the technology subject matter expert, assisting state and local agencies with their records-related technology questions and managing the archive's digital preservation efforts. Catherine Giles is the manager for the State Records Branch at the Kentucky Department for Libraries and Archives. The branch oversees the development of records retention schedules and archives and records management programs for Kentucky's state government agencies. She's been with the KDLA since 2016. Becky Juleson has been with COSA for 13 years and is currently the IT and program coordinator. Among many things, she helps with the technical aspects of COSA's webinars and has been involved with COSA's website development and migration over the last several years, and is the lead on website updates and the management of the online community. And I am Catherine Berenger, Director of Appraisal and Description at the Maryland State Archives and co-chair of the COSA SERI Education and Programming Subcommittee. So let's get started. First, I want to give you just a little background about the State Electronic Records Initiative, also known as SERI, which is COSA's flagship program for electronic government records. SERI was established in 2002. It is focused on the electronic records of government in all 56 U.S. states, territories, and the District of Columbia. SERI has a number of goals. Primarily, we are focused on improving the management and preservation of and access to electronic government records. We want to help increase the capacity and capability of those 56 archives to fulfill that mission of preservation and access. We want to support the community of archivists and promote knowledge and awareness of electronic records issues. And finally, we want to support archivists by providing guidance and resources. As to the structure of SERI, we have a steering committee that directs and supports the overall efforts of SERI. The steering committee is made up of representatives of the COSA board, COSA members, and representatives of the SERI subcommittees. And it's these subcommittees that we're going to take a closer look at today. There are 3 of them: advocacy and outreach, tools and resources, and education and programming. Today, we're also going to look specifically at some of SERI's online resources. To talk to us about Advocacy and Outreach Committee, here is Catherine Giles.
Thank you, and hello, everybody. As she said, my name is Catherine Giles, and together with Josh Hager, who couldn't be here today, and who is the Records Description Unit Supervisor at the North Carolina State Archives, we chair the Advocacy and Outreach Subcommittee. Next slide, please. So here's what we're about. This is what's on the website. We highlight and promote the work and advancements of individual state electronic records programs. So we want to share and promote what your states are doing. We try to develop and promote social media campaigns around electronic records. So like Electronic Records Day, we develop and promote Electronic Records Day activities, but we also want to promote any campaigns that might involve your state or that you would like us to highlight, in addition to things that COSA wants to highlight. Next. So we've been working on our 2023 work plan, and this is just part of it. So that you have an idea of what we do and how we plan to meet previously mentioned focuses. We are planning a social media campaign around cloud storage themes, where we will highlight different aspects of cloud storage services and planning. So you may see tweets from us from the COSA Twitter that are focused on different aspects of cloud storage. And every quarter, we're going to focus on a different aspect and theme. We plan to collaborate with other subcommittees, including developing advocacy content for the Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Accessibility Committee, or the IDEA Committee, as they relate to electronic records. And we're going to plan for the Electronic Records Day and a new event that we are excited for, the Unconference. Next, please. So Electronic Records Day, that's probably our biggest event that we plan for. It is celebrated every year on or around October 10, and it's designed to raise awareness about the crucial role electronic records play. We develop activities like webinars with a panel of experts to speak on an electronic records topic or theme. In 2022, our panel spoke on how copyright and privacy laws apply to electronic records. In 2021, a panel spoke on transparency, permanence, and accessibility. You can actually check out those webinars and more on COSA's YouTube channel. And we're going to start developing 2023 activities, themes, and ideas a little later in this year, but we are open to any suggestions or speaker ideas. So please feel free to reach out if you have something you'd like us to focus on for Electronic Records Day, like a theme, or if you are a speaker or know of a speaker who would be interested in participating, we will definitely welcome those ideas. Next, please. And so our big announcement for this committee, we are excited to introduce the 2023 Unconference. We want this Unconference to be an opportunity for anyone involved or interested in electronic records matters to discuss the most current, rapidly changing topics in a more informal and attendee-driven setting. It'll be virtual to give more people an opportunity to participate. And we'll have more information, including registration, sent out. So be on the lookout for that. We are expecting this to really be attendee driven. So all of our topics will be decided on by those who attend. So we are looking forward to that. And just overall, we're really looking forward to 2023 and the plans that we have in place. But we also invite more people to join us. Our projects and plans are about highlighting and promoting electronic records programs, services, information, etc. And we want to make sure that our advocacy accurately reflects and supports the efforts of as many groups as possible. So again, if you have any ideas you'd like to share, please feel free to do so. Or if you'd like to join or participate, just let us know and we'll be happy to have you.
Hi, I'm Josh Hackle. I'm with the Illinois State Archive and here from the Tools and Resources Subcommittee. So we're more of a hands-on subcommittee. You want to get the next slide. We're about basically researching the current and upcoming technologies about preservation of electronic records. So in the past, like last year, we discussed like file formats, upcoming things like cloud-based files. How do we work with those? How are they preserved? Tips on working with your IT team. Most of that was, lots of communications and get things in writing. And then toolkits working from home, which was really good during the pandemic. Another thing we work on is our COSA grants, mostly COSA SERI grants. We help with testing and give feedback, creating process documents, and just generally backing up COSA staff and contractors and what they're doing with their grants. And then finally, our main thing is the Resource Center, help create governance documents on how to use it, how-to guides, how do we add resources, how do we edit things. We add resources we find during our research, and then update links to make sure they're all up to date, no broken things. When you go to the Resource Center, you know the things you find are hopefully up to date. And if you click a link, you get to the right resource. Next slide. So in 2023, our work plan is focused around one kind of overarching theme, which is machine learning and natural language processing, which is a subset of artificial intelligence. So the machine learning part, just a quick out of that, machine learning, basically you can create models based on training data. You basically get a big set of documents and you can kind of, you do a collection, say 100 on your own. You say, this is good, this is bad, or you want this. And then maybe the computer behind the scene looks at that and then decides what to do. And they go forward on that. And you kind of double check to make sure it's working. And that way you can process thousands upon thousands of documents automatically without having to get your hands in there. And also we're working on natural language processing, which is kind of a subset of machine learning, basically where the computer kind of learns what actually the documents are about. They can see kind of sentiment analysis. They can like describe images. They can OCR documents, auto transcribe, figure out what's in the document, check for patterns. And so part of this work plan, we want to develop some use cases. So what are we going to use it for? What kind of processing is it best used for? Like emails, big one. We have thousands upon thousands of documents of a similar type. And most emails are like very simple things like you want to go for lunch. You don't need to keep those, while other ones are very important and you want to keep them. And some might be restricted if they have social security numbers or other PII. Create tool lists, basically go through and see what's out there, and so not everyone has to go and check for themselves. Pull those together, and then finally, we want to publish an overview poster for eRecords Day, which has like a simple overview of what's available, what tools are there for you. Next slide, please. So one of our big things I mentioned was the Resource Center. So it's a database of everything we found, as well as other people, COSA, they added things like standards. What's the best way to do things? What's the official way of doing things? Information about tools that are out there, sample forms, so things you can pull off and maybe change them so it works specifically with yours, but it has an overarching format already, and then other web resources that are out there, usually use links to. Next slide. And finally, we want to expand our resources, and you're a big help in this as well. If you go to the link, you can go to the very bottom, you can submit a resource that you found, you like, you enjoy, that really works well for you. Add that, we can get it added to the Resource Center. Next slide. And if you need me, if you want to join Tools and Resources, we're always looking for members. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me at jhackle@ilsos.gov. Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to talk about the Education and Programming Subcommittee, which focuses on providing advice and assistance. Of course, the primary way we do this is through the SERI webinars, just like this one. Our first focus in creating these webinars is figuring out what you all would like to hear about. We keep our ears open to see what is being presented at conferences, what is being talked about on archival message boards. Maybe we get inspired by record stories we see in the news, or by issues that we're struggling with in our own archives. And of course, we put out calls for suggestions at every opportunity, just like I did at the opening of this webinar. So please keep those suggestions coming. In coming up with webinar topics, we put effort into making sure that we have a variety of topics that will appeal to the different roles in our audience. For example, archivists or records managers, IT professionals, and management. We also want to make sure that we address different level of capabilities. Some in our audience are very advanced in records management, while others are just sticking their toes into the field. So we want to make sure that within our slate of webinars, we have offerings that are suitable to different levels. Of course, it's a lot easier to come up with topics than to actually find speakers on the topics. So while we're always open to topic suggestions, we especially like suggestions for topics and speakers. Of course, there's a level of logistical planning that the subcommittee undertakes to make these webinars happen. For example, we do the scheduling, coordinate between speakers, advertise the webinar, and serve as moderators. Those are all examples of some of the tasks we do. As I said, we're always looking for ideas for topic and speakers. So here's my email address. If you have any ideas, please let me know. Another effort of the Education and Programming Subcommittee is educational videos. This is actually not just our effort. This is a collaboration between all the subcommittees. We've made a number of short educational videos on electronic records issues. The subcommittees work together to come up with topics. It's very much like coming up with topics for webinars. We try to figure out where the interest would be and what topic would suit itself to a short video. We also try to figure out how we can appeal to different roles and different ranges of capability levels. We don't need to arrange a speaker, but we do have to put together a script and of course the visual slides. Usually one of the members of one of the subcommittees, either singly or in pair, will pick a topic that has certain interest for them or that they have some experience in, and then they draft it up. But then it goes through several levels of review and revision, being vetted by the different subcommittees and the steering committee, so that each video can be refined and improved before we put it online. Education and Programming has another role in the production of videos. One of our members, Elizabeth Perks, has been generous enough to record our videos and serve as the voice of our SERI educational videos. Another effort that the Education and Programming Subcommittee does is what we like to call supporting communities of interest. This SERI community is a large one, so we thought one way to effectively provide support was to identify subgroups within the community and provide targeted support. To do this, we first have to identify a subgroup that has a shared approach or maybe a shared passion or a unique challenge. An example of what I mean by this is recently we identified the group Archivists Who Code. That is staff members that use computer programs or scripts or coding to accomplish archival tasks. Now, that is not something that any of our committee members actually do, but it was something that we were hearing about more and more. So we did some outreach to staff that use coding in archives to see what, if anything, we could do that would be helpful to this group. We reached out through the COSA newsletter and listserv, and we did a survey asking what they would find useful. Did they want a message board? Perhaps they wanted an online repository where they could put their computer codes. And the response we got was that they wanted a way to communicate with each other so they could share ideas and questions. So we provided that support. We set up an online community for them in the COSA website so that they could have their own message board. And we also scheduled a couple virtual meetings just to get them started and then step back so they could continue on their own without our further involvement. So that's what we do in Education and Programming. Once again, here's my email address. Contact me if you have any ideas for webinars or videos or communities of interest. And on our next slide, I think we have, again, the contact information for all of the subcommittees. If you do have suggestions, questions, or maybe you would be interested in joining us. We're a fun group, and we are always looking for new faces and new perspectives that we could bring in. So now I want to hand it off to Becky to show us more about the website.
Hello, thank you, Catherine. I'm Becky Jolson, and I'm going to take you through our website and kind of show you where to find all the things that have been mentioned so far, all of these great resources. And my contact information is here if you want to reach out, if you have questions about the website, where to find something, how to make an account, how to join a community, just shoot me an email and I will help get you squared away. And I have a few slides up here, but I'm really actually going to share my screen to show you the website itself. So we're going to talk about the electronic records overview section, the SERI webinars, how to find the recordings and the training videos. There's a really big section called State Electronic Records Initiative where a lot of resources are located outside of the Resource Center. There are a lot of things inside the Resource Center, which kind of has its own little home, which I'll show you. And then all of like our SERI reports and the grant programs and things like that are outside of the Resource Center. And then I will show you the communities. So bear with me for a moment as I change my screen. Okay, hopefully you guys can all see the COSA website.
Looks good.
And this is the view when you are not logged in. And there is a lot of information and resources available, whether you are logged in or not. So the first one is here under electronic records, we have the electronic records overview. And the one main thing I wanted to point out here is the digital preservation capability level up roadmap that has just recently been reworked. This is currently how you get to it. And I should say there's a caveat to all of this. I do believe there are some members of the SERI committees who are working on revamping the SERI section of the website to make it a little bit more intuitive and user-friendly. So all of this could possibly change. But for now, this is where we find it. And you can see all the components over here. And if you click on a component, it will show you how you can improve to level up in each of those areas. Go back. This is another easy way to get to the Resource Center. You can also get to the Resource Center under Research and Resources here, and then the Resource Center up there. I'll show you that real quick. There's a lot of really great resources in here. And it's, you can search by keyword. You can go on the side here and search by these different tags. If you're looking for policies and guidelines, it'll sort the list for you. You can search by the DPCMM elements that were originally created. So a lot of those components. And you can also search by state. So if you are looking for something that's in here that's associated with your state, it's a really easy way to narrow that down right there. And down at the bottom, like Josh said, if you have a resource that you would like to submit that you think would be beneficial to everybody, you can start that process right here with this Submit a Resource button. It goes through a review process. It doesn't automatically go into the Resource Center. We have someone look at it, make sure there's enough information provided, and it gets approved before it goes in. The other one under here is the State Electronic Records Initiative. This is where a lot of the other resources live outside of the Resource Center. So this is an easy way to get to the SERI webinar listing. There isn't anything listed right now because this one has already started, so it's no longer appearing, but this is where they would all be. They also appear on the main SERI or the main COSA webinar listing page as well. So just go back quick. The grant projects are all here. There's a lot of information that has currently been sorted by grant. So if you go into, say, the backer grant, for example, you will see all these backer resources that have been created as part of that grant project. And the SERI recordings. We have the recordings under Research and Resources and Videos and Recordings. And this lists all of our recordings, an easy way to get to all of them. Here are the State Electronic Records Initiative training recordings. And at the very top is the training video series that Catherine mentioned. And they all link out to our YouTube channel. So that's another way to get to our YouTube channel to see all of our recordings there as well. This State Electronic Records Initiative page also is gives a link for the committees. If you want to learn more about the SERI subcommittees, you can come in here and kind of see what they're all about, see who the current committee members are. And there's usually contact information if you want to either ask about joining or have suggestions. You can find all that information there as well. And then the last thing I was going to touch on are the communities. So we have a whole very large community area, and I'm not logged in. So this is what is viewed or can be seen if you're not logged in. To join any of the communities, you do have to have an account. And then once you have an account, you can see probably more of the available communities, and then you can also ask to join them. There are, like, the SERI community is a big one, obviously. And you can create an account. If you go to log in, you should be able to new user, register, create account here. And then once you create an account, it has to be approved. And that generally happens fairly quickly, depending on time of day that you make your account. I get an email notifying me that there's an account to be approved, and I try to do them as quickly as I can. But if you've created an account and I didn't see it, just shoot me another email and I'll approve it as soon as I can. I think that's all I was going to show you quickly today, but go in there, look around, play around, see what you can find, and join some communities. And I will pass it back over to Catherine.
Hello, can anyone hear me?
No, we can hear you.
Oh, wow. Sorry about that. I'm just talking into the ether here. Yes, thank you, Catherine, Joshua, and Becky. We're now going to throw it open for questions, comments, suggestions on topics you'd like to see in webinars, or for the Resource Center, or for the Unconference. All right, well, we got a question. Will you be sending a replay link?
We will be posting a link of the recording on our website. We posted on YouTube, and then we put the link on our website. And so check there within the next week.
So Becky, is there some kind of approval process? Do we have to meet certain standards to get an account for the website?
No. I mean, if I can tell that you're a bot and you're a scammer, then you don't get approved. No, anybody can make, any real person, I should say, can make an account and have access to all that is on there. And there are some communities that are private or by invitation only, and those you won't even be able to see. So we that helps limit people joining things they shouldn't be.
So everybody sign up for an account, tell your coworkers, get in there. It's not super secret stuff. This is stuff we want to share with everyone. And it really makes the communities stronger, more diverse, the more people we get in there talking. And I always love to see people throw their questions out there, because inevitably you find other people who are struggling or have struggled with the same thing. If anyone is curious about joining a subcommittee, we can let you try it on. Don't feel that you have to make any kind of long-standing commitment before we let you in. If you're curious, let us know. We'll have you join into a meeting and see how you like it.
Yeah, I want to add to that, like to make it less intimidating. The example, the Advocacy and Outreach Subcommittee, we just meet once a month for about an hour. And the time flies with what we discuss. So it's pretty easy to participate or just sit in and observe. But it's not a ton of time commitment, but it's still valued commitment.
Absolutely. And we also know that sometimes how much commitment people can make can shift over time. Like sometimes they want to step forward and take a lead on planning a webinar or an educational video or something like that. And then in other seasons, they might be too busy in their own job and they want to step back and take on less in the subcommittee. So there's definitely allowances for that. Any other questions? So did anybody come here having no idea what SERI was and you're completely surprised by these subcommittees, or did everybody pretty much know what we were doing?
This is Becky again. One thing I will add also about the website and creating an account, you can earn badges and all sorts of fun stuff the more you interact with our website and the more you view resources. And in the resource center, if you have an account, that also allows you can leave comments on a resource. So if you know that it was a really helpful resource to you, you can put that in the comments and say why it was really helpful. You can recommend the resource. You can click a little star that allows you to follow it if you see anybody else commenting and things like that. So it all becomes a little more interactive if you have an account, and it's all just as good as you all make it by playing along and interacting.
Yes, and Becky has been doing such a great job overseeing some of the improvements to our website. So if you haven't been there in a while, definitely go check it out. Here we have some ways you can stay connected on what COSA is up to. If anybody out there is real big on social media, advocacy and outreach might be the committee for you. Okay, well, if there are no more questions, you all have our contact information now, and it'll be posted in the webinar video. So don't hesitate to contact us and let us know your ideas. Or if you're interested in joining us, don't hesitate at all to get in contact with us. And thank you so much for attending today.